Welcome to the Mind Grow Radio Storyteller Series podcast. I am your host, Stephanie Kathan. And as we reflect on what we are thankful for this week, I just want to give some of that gratitude to you. Thank you to the listeners for tuning in for episodes of the Mind Grow Radio podcast. And thank you to our amazing guests who continue to grow our mind. And I am just so thankful for all of that. Today, we are joined by one of my favorite people. She's the founder and CEO of the International Speaker Network. She's a 7-time author, a podcast host. She's delivered over 600 speaking engagements, and she empowers entrepreneurs to use public speaking as a soul-fulfilling business growth strategy. She's helped me immensely, and I love her so much. And in addition to all of this, she still manages to gracefully balance being a wife, a mom, and a brilliant businesswoman. Please help me welcome to the Mind Growth Studio, Leisa Reid. Welcome, Lisa.
Oh, thank you, Stephanie. What a beautiful introduction. I love you.
I love you, and you are such an inspiration to me because there was a time when when I first started this journey, I would attend workshops and seminars. And what I noticed was that it was mostly a male dominated stage. And you have been able to share tons of wisdom with entrepreneurs from the stage over 600 times. And I just appreciate that you've been able to create such an amazing, not only community, but business model for other, not just women, men also, but for other women speakers like me. And it has made a huge difference in my life. So I just want to really acknowledge that and appreciate that. And
You.
when you started out, being as it is kind of a male dominated industry, did you ever have a fear of being visible?
Not necessarily. Like I would say when it came to speaking, I think of it as being a teacher. And even when I was a little kid, I wanted to be a teacher. I have so I didn't have fear about being like quote unquote at the head of the class or in front of the room. That didn't come up for me.
One of the things that was challenging for me was that fear of actually getting out there and sharing my message. Because the fearful thoughts for me were, who wants to listen to you? What do you have to say? What is it that you know that somebody else doesn't know?
Definitely. Yeah. I can like you had asked me if I had an issue with being visible or feeling invisible or whatever being visible. That wasn't one for me, but what I do know after, my own personal dive into my own thoughts and others as speakers, I call it speakers kryptonite. And you just shared a couple like, oh, what are people going to think? Do I have anything of value? Is it, and another other ones would be like, do is this going to work? Like who's going to let me be on stage? How would this ever even happen? So we have a lot of doubt and I can totally relate to that. And we also can sometimes stack on extra stuff to keep us safe. Like, oh, I need to do more research. I need to work on my talk. I need to write a book. I need to do XYZ. And that keeps us from that it keeps us from being visible or being heard because that's protecting us. So I can relate to a lot of those.
What are some things that helped you get through that, or how do you help your clients get through that?
I think the first step is hearing the thought, like you had just said. You were really clear, like, oh, this is the thought that came up for me when I first started, right?
Mm.
And you're a genius at helping people with their mindset. So it's like, oh, even hearing it or you're conscious of it is such a powerful step. And then, I would say, well, let's unwrap that. Like, where did that come from? Why would it make sense that you're telling yourself this? What are you actually protecting yourself from? And really, get to know that thought. Then, because we don't want to skip the whole, we don't want to skip curing ourselves, right? Then I would say, okay, now what do I believe about myself that's the opposite? Like if I'm worried, gosh, is anyone going to, get anything out of what I say? I might think, well, yeah, there's a lot of people I can think of that have gotten things out of what I said. There's a lot of feedback I've gotten in the world that shows, I'm doing something of value. So we have to like consciously give ourselves something opposite that is also true. Not something that's not true, something that is true that we can hold on to. And that'll help dissolve those kryptonite
It
thoughts.
truly does help, and it's a powerful tool that you share. One of the many things that I love about you is your ability to create a community that is supportive and empowering and encourages collaboration.
Yes.
And in your opinion, how important is that sense of community when it comes to being an entrepreneur and building a business?
Oh my gosh, I think it's so powerful. And I also get that building a community or hosting or having a community isn't in everyone's wheelhouse and it isn't a dream of everyone. So, but for me, I just naturally do it. It's one of those things where I'm like, I had this exercise one time I'll share with you where they said, okay, imagine you got dropped in a new town and there was no structure. Like, the 1700s or whatever, and there's no system. What would you do to make money? Like, how would you participate in the community? What would you do? And I was like, gosh, well, what I would do is I'd probably find the people who are like the movers and shakers. I'd find the connectors, and then I'd find out what did the town need. Like I'd listen to what people needed, and then I'd bring them all together. And that is literally what I would do, even if it was 300 years from now or in the past. I would still do the same kind of thing.
I love that. And your community for International Speakers Network is amazing. I'm so honored to be part of that community. And thank you for holding space for all of us to empower each other and support each other and inspire each other. It's really an awesome place. If you aren't familiar with Lisa's Facebook group, I would go check it out. We're going to tell you how to find all of her stuff at the end of the show. Another thing that has been really valuable to me is mentorship on this journey and really investing in myself as far as time or money or whatever energy to learn from people who are doing what I want to do. And being part of your speaker academy was really a game changer for me. What role has mentorship played in your journey?
Well, such an important thing. I can really relate to what you're saying. Sometimes I think specifically like as an entrepreneur, I can relate to the thought of like I just need someone who like really cares about me and looks at my stuff and helps me. Like I will do the hard work. I'm I'm in, but if I don't know what to do next, it can get really tricky. And I've been there where I've wasted a lot of time, I've wasted a lot of money, I've invested in people that I shouldn't, I don't say shouldn't, but that I later realized that that wasn't the best use of my time and money. And so finding someone who I could really trust and who really cared about my success as a human being was paramount. And I've had many different mentors over the years. Even, as a child, I had my parents, I would consider my mentors as well. Um, I've just been really blessed to have wise, caring, loving, strategic, intelligent people help me. So
Yeah,
it's beneficial for sure. Cuts you to the front of the line.
absolutely. And if you could offer one piece of advice to somebody who might just be starting out on this entrepreneurial journey, who maybe never even considered speaking as a way to grow their business, what would you say to them?
Well, I would say again, if you are feeling the speaker bug, let's just say, because it's not for everybody, I understand that. But if you feel like, gosh, you're sitting on some knowledge that you really wish people would know about because it's going to help them, then you have the potential to be a speaker, and you have the potential to utilize speaking to get your clients into your orbit a lot quicker and a lot less painfully. I call it like soul sucking activities. Stephanie, I don't know if you can relate to this, where
Mm.
you are doing like cold reach out and messaging and being in a million Facebook groups or trying whatever, like trying to chase your clients down. I find that most heart centered people, purpose driven people, do not enjoy that type of marketing or sales.
I don't for sure.
Right. And so speaking, when you can really provide value, we're givers, right? We want to provide value to people and share our expertise, and it really could help someone. That is so fulfilling, right? And it just changes the dynamic of how you do business. And all of a sudden people can get to know you and get to trust you a little bit. You're like, oh wow, and they can explore other things that you provide, if you have like free content or YouTube channel or whatever. You don't need to overthink it, but you probably have other things that people could tap into. All of a sudden they can get to know you and trust you quicker. And I think that's just it's an easy way. You don't need a lot of technology to do it either.
Yes, thank goodness. Because that's a scary piece, right? The technology can be very intimidating if you're not willing to give it a shot. And when you do, you might find that it's easier than you thought, like anything, right? We always think things are hard.
Yeah.
Um, I know when I first started this journey with you, I was like, oh my God, this is going to be hard. But you were able to kind of guide me, help me get my material packed in a way that was easy to deliver. But you did something else. You were able to like intuitively pull out of me what it was that my message was that I had to share. And for me, that was priceless. Another thing that I admire about you, like I have like a whole list of like these are things I love about Leisa.
8 hour podcast. Here we go.
But one of the things that is so amazing to me is your ability to find balance with life and business. You're a mom and a wife and a business owner. You participate. I know you're a member of eWomen Network. Like you have a lot of things going, and it seems to me that you kind of gracefully just flow in between those things and find balance in all of that. And is there some tips that you can share with us that you use or tools or strategies
Sure.
to help us find balance too?
Well, especially as entrepreneurs, the good news and the bad news is that we're our own boss, right? So, and we're the employee. And so we need to step back and like consider, am I being a good boss? Am I being a good employee? And if you let your employee work 24/7, you're not being a good boss.
Oh, true.
So it's like deciding what are those quote unquote working hours that work best for me. That's what I do. And then I slowly, as I've gotten older, I have blocked off certain days in my calendar, just period. It doesn't mean I'm not working. It just means I don't want my calendar to get booked on at, you know, free will, you know? And I think that's important to have certain boundaries for yourself. That's been really helpful for me. I rarely work past 5 o'clock unless it's like some special event or something I choose to go do or something that's like a really big opportunity. I mean, and I'm not saying I'm perfect. I used to do that. I used to burn the candle at both ends. And I thought, I don't want that anymore. And I love what you specialize in intention. One year, I used to speak a lot in the evenings. And one year I just said, oh my gosh, I only want to speak, for breakfast and lunch meetings. That's it. I don't want to do any more dinner, events. And that next year, I barely had any dinner events just by saying it out loud. Nothing else really changed except for me stating and being clear on my intention about my time. So sometimes we can just get really like, I just want to take whatever business I can get and I want anyone to schedule with me and I'll work whenever. And it's like, listen to the words that we say because you might just get what you said you were going to use what you said. So I try to just be really intentional about my time.
That is such a powerful practice. And you touched on something that I feel is like needs more airtime because I struggle with it, or I have in the past. I'm getting much better. It's creating boundaries.
Yeah.
And
Which sounds super easy to say, but is not, that's like a big umbrella topic.
true,
Not easy to implement.
but necessary, right? It's so
Yeah.
necessary. And if we don't do it, then then as you said, we are burnt out. The two ends meet on the candle and there's nothing left.
Yeah.
So it's really important to establish those boundaries. And I love the mind shift that I just got from you as far as looking at my business from the employer standpoint and the employee standpoint. That's really that's like a game changer right there. Just holding that perspective.
It's
So
also, yeah, it's also good to consider like all the jobs that let's just take your average entrepreneur, maybe life coach, and it's like you're doing all the jobs. You're the social media department, the bookkeeping department, the sales, the marketing, the service provider, you're the president, the bottle washer, like you're all the different jobs that you have. And at one point, I hear a lot of times people say, "Oh, I'll wait. I'll hire some help when I make more money." And I'm like, "If you hire help, you'll make more money." So, especially I think women sometimes tend to not want to invest in our businesses, and that small investment can move you miles ahead. It's so freeing
it
and it's really
is.
powerful.
It is because when you invest in yourself, you're like claiming your worth. And I think as women, we kind of take the back burner. We just naturally are nurturers. So we want to take care of everybody, make sure everybody has everything that they need, and then we kind of come last. But I have found in my business that's a really bad idea.
Yeah, because it's when I think of it as resilience. Like women are so resilient. We can carry a lot of load on our backs and without complaining and just head down, keep going, taking care of all the things. And just like too much water, you'll drown. Like too much resilience, eventually that's not going to be healthy. So it's a constant balance, like what you were asking in the beginning. It's like, where am I out of balance? Is this, have I said yes too many times? Have I said no too many times? Like, what's my true desire when an opportunity comes to me? Like what thoughts what are coming in, what feelings are coming in, and how do you have a clarity on your yeses and your nos? And that's kind of ties back into the boundaries.
So good. Can you share some tips from your own personal growth toolbox that you've used just anywhere along your journey to help you be organized or help you find clarity or help you just keep showing up in this life that you know is meant for you?
Well, gosh, I have like a billion, but I will say the one thing my dad always said to me, and I grew up with my dad as a hypnotherapist, so there was lots of talk about, neurolinguistic programming and subconscious thinking and all the kind of stuff. All I grew up in a personal development household, but he would say, "Do what makes your heart sing," and that phrase is short, simple, and powerful. And so if I notice any like little, I call it like any resistance, any residue, in me saying yes to something, that's when I know to pause and really consider, am I saying yes for the right reasons? Am I being seduced to say yes for something that I don't really want to do? Like, I really want to like take a moment and consider my answer. So that's been very helpful.
I love that. I love that so much. We've touched on a lot of things today. We've talked
We
about
did.
boundaries. We've talked about how to handle your fear. You shared some great tips on what to do. Where can people go to learn more about you and what you do and what you've got going on?
Well, I know you mentioned the International Speaker Network. We also have some tips for any entrepreneurs who are listening who might want to jump into the speaking world. And that's on my website, getspeakinggigsnow.com/tips. They can find some free tips on how to get speaking engagements, like how do you actually kind of get started in the whole speaking thing? How does this work for you? Again, that's at getspeakinggigsnow.com/tips.
That is amazing. I love you so much, and I am just so thankful as we are reflecting on this week of thankfulness. What are you thankful for today?
Oh my gosh. Thankful for you. Thankful for your time today and for all of the love in my life that I'm so blessed to have. I know there's people out there who don't have that, and I'm just really grateful for all the love that I have and the health and that I have, and obviously my family and friends and my business and things like that, but just love.
Beautiful. I am so thankful for you. I am thankful for our listeners who've been tuning in. We have been joined by the absolutely amazing Leisa Reid. She is a game changer. If you really want to learn how to bring speaking and use speaking as a strategy to grow your business, she's your girl. And trust me, I know. Ask me how I know because I know she's amazing. Today's show has been brought to you by the Vibe Tuner Shop on Etsy. You've been listening to the Mind Grow Radio Storyteller Series podcast. We've been joined by the ever lovely Leisa Reid, and you can learn more about her at getspeakinggigsnow.com. I highly encourage you to go there, pick up her free tips. She is so generous with the wisdom that she shares. And if you are meeting her for the first time, I encourage you to get to know her better because she's one of my favorite people on the planet. Lisa, thank you so much for joining us today. I appreciate you. I love you. Do you have any final tips or comments that you would like to say to the listeners?
I think it was a great show. Thank you so much, Stephanie. I also appreciate you. And I think we're good.
Awesome. Everybody, thank you for joining us today. Thanks for tuning in and taking the time. And until we meet again, keep shining in your brilliance. See you later, everybody.